The wheat stood golden in the morning light, ready for harvest. Admiral Rachel Cavanaugh knelt in the field, her 8-year-old daughter Emma beside her, both examining a bird's nest hidden among the stalks. 3 pale blue eggs rested in the woven grass, fragile and perfect. "We have to protect them," Emma said, her voice carrying the seriousness only children possess when discovering something precious. "We have to be careful during harvest." "We will." Rachel touched her daughter's hair, dark like her own. "That's what guardians do, Em. We protect things that can't protect themselves." It was the last morning of the old world, the last morning before everything changed, before Rachel learned that some things once broken could never be made whole again, only transformed into something else entirely. Her communicator buzzed, priority channel. The message that appeared made her blood turn cold. Priority 1. First contact situation. All senior officers report immediately. 20 minutes later, Rachel watched Emma disappear into her sister Caroline's house backpack, bouncing, turning at the door to wave one last time. Rachel waved back, committing the image to memory, just in case. She didn't know that in 6 hours, that wave would become the last thing she had, the last piece of her daughter that wasn't screaming. Unity Station, 3 days later. The Zephyrians were beautiful. That was Rachel's first thought when High Archon Vaxar entered the conference room. His crystalline body stood 3 meters tall, facets catching light and transforming it into colors that shifted with each movement. No face, no eyes, yet somehow she felt studied, measured, judged. When he spoke, his voice appeared directly in her mind, not sound but presence, intrusion. Admiral Cavanaugh, the youngest admiral in Earth Defense Force history, a warrior who has never seen war. How quaint. Rachel kept her expression neutral, ignoring the violation of having thoughts placed in her head without permission. "We've been fortunate, Archon. A peace we hope to maintain." Peace. Vaxar's colors shifted to something that might have been amusement. "Yes. Tell me, Admiral, what would you sacrifice for peace?" The question hung in the air like a knife. For 3 days, the negotiations continued. Vaxar asked careful questions about human colonies, population centers, agricultural worlds. President Thornton, attending via hologram, answered enthusiastically. Building trust through transparency, he called it. Rachel called it something else. But she was a soldier, and soldiers followed orders. On the 3rd day, Vaxar made his request. "We would like to broadcast to all human worlds a demonstration of peaceful intentions, so your people can see us, understand us." Every instinct Rachel had developed over 20 years of military service screamed danger. "Perhaps we should wait," she suggested. "Give ourselves more time to—" "No need," Vaxar interrupted, his mental voice carrying an edge like broken glass. "We are already prepared. Your colony of New Haven, for example. We've been particularly interested in New Haven." Rachel's heart stopped. New Haven, where Emma was staying with Caroline, where 7 million humans lived peaceful lives, growing wheat and raising families. Why New Haven? Her voice was deadly calm. "Because it has optimal demographics, many families, many children, maximum emotional impact." Vaxar's colors pulsed with something that looked like anticipation. "We find that young beings provide the most engaging reactions." Captain Wyatt Sterling's hand moved toward his communicator. Rachel caught his eye. Not yet. She needed to understand what was happening. "The broadcast begins now," Vaxar announced. "All human colonies are watching." The screens flickered to life. New Haven's main settlement appeared. Rachel saw the central market where she'd bought Emma's birthday present last year. The schools, the residential districts, normal, peaceful, safe. Then the sky darkened. Zephyrian ships materialized, dozens of them, crystalline hulls blotting out the sun. They'd been there all along, hidden, waiting. This wasn't first contact, this was an execution. "Aunt Caroline, what's happening?" Emma's voice came through Rachel's personal communicator, young and scared. "Mom said you were coming, but these aren't your ships." The first energy beam struck. It didn't explode or burn. It simply erased. People vanished mid-stride. Buildings collapsed to dust. 1,000 lives ended in an instant, leaving nothing but empty space, where moments before there had been laughter and life. Me. Emma's scream tore through the communicator. They're killing everyone. They're another beam. Closer. Emma, run. Run now. I can't. Mom, I'm scared. I want you. I want static. Rachel stared at the screens as Zephyrian ships methodically murdered every human on New Haven. For 6 hours she watched. For 6 hours, 7 million people died while Vaxar's telepathic laughter echoed in her mind and the minds of every human being watching. When it ended, when the last life signature went dark, Vaxar turned to face her. Your daughter was among them, I believe. How unfortunate, but necessary. His crystalline body pulsed with satisfaction. This is your lesson, Admiral. Your species exists for our entertainment, nothing more. You have 7 days to surrender every human world, or we continue, 7 million at a time. Rachel stood perfectly still. Inside, something fundamental didn't break. It crystallized, like water flash frozen into ice. Still there, still functional, but forever changed into something harder, colder, capable of things the water had never been. Captain Sterling, she said, her voice like winter. Get me President Thornton. Secure channel. Now. Earth Defense Command. 4 hours later. President Malcolm Thornton's hologram flickered in Rachel's quarters. The man looked like he'd aged a decade in 6 hours. Rachel, I can't. I need authorization, Mr. President. For what? She met his eyes. Hers were dry, her voice steady. Inside where Emma had lived, there was only ice and purpose. Guardian Protocol. Full activation. Every ship we've built, every weapon we've hidden, everything we've been preparing for 150 years. I need authorization to show them what happens when you murder human children for entertainment. Thornton stared. Guardian Protocol hasn't been activated since 2007, since the last war. They put those weapons away. That way of thinking, we became better. No, sir. Rachel's expression didn't change. We became smarter. We pretended to forget. We didn't forget, we prepared. And now someone just killed 7 million of our people, including my daughter. I will not let them die unavenged. If we do this, there's no going back. Good. Rachel's voice could have frozen stars. Let the galaxy learn that humans are patient, not weak. That we're kind until we're not. That we remember. Emma asked me once if aliens dreamed. Now I'll teach them nightmares. Thornton closed his eyes. When he opened them, something had changed in his face too. Authorization granted. God have mercy on us all. God can have mercy, Rachel said. I won't. The transformation across human space dormant systems woke. In Earth orbit, the museum fleet 300 ships supposedly preserved as historical artifacts powered up. Their reactors had never truly been shut down. Only put to sleep. Civilian freighters shed outer hulls like snakes shedding skin. Beneath the cargo markings were warships, hidden in plain sight for a century and a half. Mining stations activated weapon systems. Sensor arrays flooded the void with targeting data. Communication networks revealed their true purpose: military command and control. For 150 years, humanity had lied to the galaxy. Built in secret, trained in silence, waited for someone to be foolish enough to kick the sleeping dog. That day had come. Rachel stood in the command center beneath Colorado Springs as Admiral William Drake briefed her. 70 years old, veteran of the last war. He'd come out of retirement to coordinate Guardian Protocol. Every colony has hidden military installations, Drake explained. Holographic displays showing the truth. Every generation since 2007 has trained for war while pretending to build peace. 2 years of mandatory civil service military training disguised as infrastructure maintenance. Every human adult knows how to fight. They just don't know they know. Rachel studied the displays. Ship count, 12 visible, 3,417 actual. Every civilian ship is a warship. Every civilian is a soldier. We've been playing a long game, Admiral. Time to show our hand. How long to full mobilization? Ships are ready now. Soldiers need 48 hours. Drake paused. You understand what you're activating. Guardian Protocol isn't just defense. It's about ensuring no one ever attacks us again. Are you prepared for that? Rachel thought of Emma, of her daughter's voice, scared and small, begging for her mother, of 7 million others who died for entertainment. Yes, she said, I'm prepared. 12 Zephyrian ships emerged near New Haven's coordinates, expecting to find humans broken, submissive, ready to begin the process of surrender. Instead, they found 240 human warships waiting in perfect battle formation. The ships that faced them weren't the outdated vessels from Unity Station. These were predatory, sleek. They looked like evolution had designed them specifically to kill. Because it had. Rachel sat in the command chair of the Retribution, the flagship that had pretended to be a cargo station. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet precision. Zephyrian commander is hailing us, Admiral. Put him through. A crystalline face appeared, colors pulsing confusion. Human vessels, where did you be? We built them. Rachel's voice was calm, almost gentle. We've been building them for 150 years while you watched and thought we were weak. You made a mistake, Commander. You showed us what you were capable of. Now we'll show you what we're capable of. You cannot possibly. My name is Admiral Rachel Kavanaugh. 3 days ago, your species murdered my 8-year-old daughter and broadcast it as entertainment. You laughed. Do you remember laughing? The Zephyrian's colors shifted, no longer confident. I care about teaching you a lesson, Rachel continued. Every species in this galaxy is going to learn it, but you're going first. You wanted to test us. Congratulations. Here's the result. She nodded to her tactical officer. Fire. What followed rewrote everything the galaxy knew about humanity. Zephyrian shields designed to deflect energy weapons met human phase shift technology. The Zephyrian beams hit Rachel's shields and simply ceased to exist. Not deflected, not absorbed, deleted. Human weapons didn't use energy. They weaponized gravity itself, crushing crystalline hulls with invisible force. Beautiful ships that had seemed invincible shattered like glass. The Zephyrian commander tried to retreat, found that human quantum entangled fields made faster than light travel impossible. They were trapped. 4 hours later, 120 Zephyrian ships disabled, 80 destroyed. Human casualties 0. Total, absolute, overwhelming superiority. Rachel had the survivors brought aboard, fed them, gave them medical care, treated them as prisoners of war, not enemies to be tortured. The Zephyrian commander stood in a ready room, crystalline body, pulsing with colors. Rachel now recognized without doubt. Fear. You lied, it said. You were supposed to be primitive. No, Rachel walked to the viewport. We showed you what we wanted you to see. We've been doing that for 150 years. Peace is better than war, but peace requires preparation. You made us stop pretending. She turned to face the prisoner. You're going to deliver a message to Vaxar. Tell him Admiral Kavanaugh commands the Guardian fleet. Tell him we can destroy every Zephyrian world. Tell him we have that capability. And will you? Rachel paused. The question that would define everything. I don't know yet. That depends on what Vaxar does next. But tell him this too, I could kill you right now, torture you, broadcast it as entertainment. I'm not going to because I'm not you. Because Guardians don't kill prisoners. She leaned close. But don't mistake mercy for weakness. We're letting you go because we choose to, not because we can't kill you, because we won't. That's civilization. Learn it. The Zephyrians were released in escape pods with Rachel's message and the battle footage. They carried with them knowledge that would shake their empire. The peaceful species had been hiding something terrifying. Earth, President's address. President Thornton appeared on every screen in human space. 3 days ago, we suffered the worst attack in human history. 7 million murdered. Murdered to show us we were weak. He paused. They were wrong.
For 150 years, we've been building, training, preparing. We chose peace. We chose restraint. We pretended to forget how to be dangerous, but we never forgot. We simply chose not to remember until necessary. The display showed the Battle of New Haven, Zephyrian ships being systematically destroyed. Today we activate Guardian Protocol.
Every ship, every soldier, every weapon held in reserve, not for conquest, not for empire, but to ensure our children are safe, to ensure humanity is never again attacked by those who mistake our kindness for weakness. He leaned forward. We are peaceful, we remain peaceful, but do not mistake our peace for pacifism. We are the descendants of Earth where only the strong survived. We are farmers and explorers. And when necessary, when our families are threatened, we are guardians. We are the wolves you forgot lived behind the door, and someone just kicked that door open. Rachel's decision on the Retribution's bridge. Rachel looked at the tactical display. 12 human colonies, 3,400 ships. Somewhere out there, a Zephyrian empire that had just learned a very hard lesson. Orders, Admiral, Sterling asked. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. That was the question, wasn't it? The line between justice and revenge, guardian and monster. We dismantled their military, she said finally. Every ship, every installation, we to do it systematically. We show them what 150 years of patience looks like. But Sterling, ma'am, we don't become what killed Emma. We capture where possible. We avoid civilians. We offer surrender. We're guardians, not executioners. Is that understood? Sterling nodded. Some officers looked relieved, others disappointed. Rachel understood both reactions, felt the desire for revenge burning like ice in her chest. But Emma wouldn't want revenge. Emma would want her mother to be better than the monsters. We have 8 weeks before they plan to attack Earth. Rachel continued. We're not waiting. We go to them. We show them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. When you kick sleeping dogs and forget that dogs remember being wolves. The Retribution's engines flared. The Guardian fleet moved out into the dark. 240 ships, then 400, then 800, more emerging every hour as the full scope of Guardian Protocol became clear. An armada hidden for 150 years, built in secret, maintained in silence, waiting for this day. And the galaxy was about to learn that the scariest predators are the ones who spend centuries pretending they're not predators at all. Week 1. The systematic dismantling. The war room beneath Colorado Springs blazed with activity. Rachel entered 6 hours after the Battle of New Haven, grief locked away in the cold place where Emma's voice lived. She'd visit that place later, after, when the wolves had finished their work. Admiral on deck. As you were. She moved to the central display. Status Admiral Drake. Drake pulled up the tactical overview. Full activation achieved. 3,417 warships ready. 800,000 ground forces. We are the single largest military force in known space. He paused. And no one knows. The Zephyrians think we have a few hundred ships at most. They have no idea what's coming. Rachel studied the display showing human space, every colony now revealed as a fortress. Sol system ringed with weapons platforms disguised as satellites. Neptune's shipyards showing their true purpose, military production on a scale that would have terrified ancient empires. Intelligence reports, she ordered. Commander Rourke stepped forward. 32 sharp-minded, she'd spent her career analyzing theoretical threats that had just become horrifyingly real. The New Haven massacre is still being broadcast on Zephyrian homeworld as entertainment, Rourke reported. With commentary, they're planning pole events. Earth is designated for what they call a season finale. Silence filled the room. Earth, Rachel repeated softly. 18 billion people as a season finale. They're mobilizing 10,000 ships, ma'am. They plan to arrive at Seoul in 60 days. 60 days. 2 months to teach them the lesson Rachel had promised. How many worlds do they control? Rourke highlighted the star map. 12 major worlds, 47 colonies, 84 billion population. Their homeworld Athos is here where High Archon Vaxar broadcasts from, where they're laughing about Emma. Rachel stared at Athos for a long moment. 84 billion Zephyrians, most of them civilians with no say in the decision to attack New Haven, just people living their lives, like Emma had been living hers. "What are your orders?" Drake asked gently. This was the moment, the choice between guardian and executioner. "We dismantle their military," Rachel said. "Every ship, every installation, every weapon. We do it systematically and efficiently. We show them what 150 years of preparation looks like. And civilians, we avoid them." Rachel's voice was firm. "We're not them. We don't murder civilians for entertainment. We capture military assets. We disable their war-making capability. We show overwhelming force. But we don't become what killed Emma." Understanding passed through the room. Some officers relieved, others disappointed. Rachel felt both impulses herself, the desire for revenge burning against the knowledge that Emma would want her to be better. "We have 60 days before they arrive at Earth," she continued. "We're not waiting. We hit their military infrastructure, shipyards, fleet concentrations. We move fast and clean, and we make sure every species in this galaxy is watching." She turned to face the room. The Zephyrians wanted to show the galaxy that humans are weak. "We're going to show them what happens when you confuse patience with passivity, when you kick sleeping dogs and forget that dogs are descended from wolves." Drake smiled without humor. First target, Rachel highlighted a system, Korvan, their primary military fortress, should take months to crack with conventional tactics. "We're going to do it in 6 hours, the Battle of Korvan." 48 hours later, Rachel commanded 800 ships surrounding Korvan. The crystalline fortress hung in space like a jewel. 3 moons converted to weapons platforms, orbital defense stations capable of destroying entire fleets, shield generators that could protect the planet for years. "It would fall before lunch. All ships battle stations," Rachel ordered. "Tactical analysis." Lieutenant Morrison reported 342 defense platforms, estimated firepower equivalent to 4,000 conventional warships, 800 Zephyrian ships in defensive positions. Sterling whistled low. "More firepower than New Haven." "Yes," Rachel's voice was calm, "and they expect us to run, to be intimidated, to decide this fight isn't worth it." She leaned forward. "Activate resonance arrays. Show them what Dr. Blackwood built while they were laughing at Emma's death." Deep within the retribution systems, powered up, that had never been used in combat, Dr. Nathan Blackwood's masterpiece. His grief transformed into physics. His sister's death translated into a weapon that would change warfare. Resonance technology. The ability to make matter vibrate at frequencies that tore it apart molecularly. Zephyrians were crystalline. Crystal had natural resonance frequencies. Blackwood had found them all. "Resonance arrays charged," Morrison reported, "ready to fire." Rachel thought of Emma asking about birds and wheat, thought of her daughter's last words, "Mom, I'm scared." Fire. 8 invisible beams struck the defense platforms. The crystalline structures began to vibrate. Faster, harder, beyond their structural limits. 342 weapons stations shattered in 17 seconds. On Korvan's surface, alarms screamed. "Zephyrian fleet engaging," Morrison said. "They're panicking. Formations breaking." "They've never seen anything like this," Sterling observed. "They can't counter it." Rachel watched 800 Zephyrian ships swarm toward her fleet like angry insects, beautiful, deadly, and completely unprepared. Their entire defensive doctrine relies on shields and armor, deflecting or absorbing energy. Resonance arrays don't use conventional energy. They use the target's own structure against it. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire. Energy beams that could vaporize cities struck human shields and vanished. Phase shift technology made conventional weapons obsolete. Return fire, Rachel ordered. Gravity weapons, disable where possible, destroy only if necessary. Human ships unleashed weaponized gravity. Crystalline hulls crumpled under invisible force. Ships imploded, broke apart. The battle lasted 4 hours, not because Zephyrians were winning, but because Rachel wanted them to understand, to see, to witness exactly how outmatched they were. When it ended, 600 Zephyrian ships floated dead in space crews evacuated. 200 had surrendered after watching their weapons fail. Corvan's surface lay defenseless. Rachel could have bombarded it, could have shattered every structure, could have murdered everyone for revenge. Instead, she sent a message. This is Admiral Rachel Kavanaugh. Your military assets are destroyed. You have 1 hour to surrender your infrastructure intact or we dismantle it piece by piece. Response came in 45 minutes. Unconditional surrender. Send occupation forces, Rachel told Sterling. Catalog every weapon. Inventory every ship. Disarm every soldier. But Sterling, no atrocities, no revenge killings. We're guardians, not executioners. Some troops won't like it. They've seen New Haven footage. I know what they want. Rachel's voice was hard. I want it too. I want to reduce this planet to rubble for Emma. But that's not why we're here. We're here to stop them from doing it again, not to become them. The occupation took 18 hours. General Garrett Kavanaugh, Rachel's brother, led ground forces with professional efficiency. Weapons confiscated, installations secured. Zephyrian soldiers detained and treated according to military law. Not a single civilian harmed. Not a single building destroyed beyond battle damage. The Zephyrians, expecting massacre, found mercy. It was more terrifying than genocide would have been. The Zephyrian response. News of Corvan's fall reached Aethos within hours. In the Crystalline Palace, High Archon Vaxar faced his advisors for the first time with something in his colors that might have been fear. Corvan fell in 6 hours. An advisor reported telepathic voice tight. Our most fortified position. 800 ships gone. Vaxar's colors pulsed with rage, masking fear. Impossible. Humans are primitive. We've observed them for decades. They lied, Archon. For 150 years. Every civilian ship was military. Every colony was fortified. They've been preparing for war while pretending to seek peace. Then we used more force. Vaxar's colors shifted to determination. We have 10,000 ships. We overwhelmed them with numbers. His chief strategist, a Zephyrian, whose name translated as Blade of Victory, pulsed with disagreement. Archon, their technology is superior. Battle recordings show weapons we cannot defend against. They disabled our fleet with 0 casualties. 0. That's not battle. That's execution. Then what do you suggest? Surrender to an inferior species? I suggest, Blade said carefully, that we might have misjudged which species is inferior. Absolute silence. You're saying we are inferior, Vaxar asked slowly. I'm saying a species that hides warships for 150 years, develops weapons we cannot counter, defeats our best defenses in 6 hours with 0 losses. Such a species is not inferior. Such a species is terrifying. Before Vaxar could respond, every screen in the throne room activated. Rachel's face appeared. High Archon Vaxar, this is Admiral Rachel Kavanaugh. 2 weeks ago, you murdered 7 million humans, including my 8-year-old daughter. You broadcast it for entertainment. You laughed. Her eyes were cold enough to freeze suns. You wanted to teach us about superiority. Consider this our response. We destroyed Corvan in 6 hours. We will destroy every military installation you possess in 60 days. We will dismantle your ability to wage war. And we will do it without harming your civilians because unlike you, we are civilized. She paused. You have 2 choices. Surrender unconditionally, disarm your military, submit to occupation, face trial for war crimes. or continue fighting and watch us systematically dismantle your empire while the galaxy watches. Either way, you will learn what it means to attack humanity, what it means to murder our children. The transmission ended. Across the Zephyrian Empire, 84 billion beings processed what they'd witnessed. Many had watched New Haven, had enjoyed it, had rated which deaths were most entertaining. Now they understood the prey species was actually predator, had always been predator, had simply chosen to hide its teeth, and Zephyrians learned what it felt like to be hunted. The 60-day war. Rachel divided her fleet into strike groups. Each targeted specific military installations. Each carried weapons Zephyrians could encounter. Each operated with the same directive: destroy military capability, avoid civilian casualties, accept surrender when offered, show mercy, show strength, show the galaxy what guardianship meant. Week 1. Marak shipyards fell in 11 hours. 1,500 construction workers evacuated before human forces arrived. Not a single civilian died. The shipyards were captured intact. Garrett oversaw the occupation. An officer suggested destroying the facilities. No, Garrett said, thinking of Emma, thinking of what Rachel had said about being better. We secure them. When this is over, they'll need infrastructure, jobs. We're guardians, not conquerors. Week 2. Battle of Tarnox expands. 200 Zephyrian ships ambushed a human convoy. Were met by 50 human warships using jump technology Zephyrians didn't know existed. 3 hours later, 160 enemy ships destroyed. 40 surrendered. Human casualties, 0. Sterling commanded the defense. Afterward, his tactical officer suggested leaving the escape pods to drift. Recover all pods, Sterling ordered. Medical care. Process prisoners according to protocol. The Admiral would know if we didn't. And that matters more than revenge. Week 4. 75% of Zephyrian military fleet destroyed or captured. Remaining ships scattered, demoralized, running. Vaxar sent desperate messages to other species, begging for intervention. No one responded. The galaxy had watched New Haven, had seen Zephyrians laugh at children's deaths, had witnessed entertainment broadcasts rating 7 million murders. Now the galaxy watched the response, watched humans systematically dismantling an empire, and learned. Humans weren't killing civilians, weren't destroying worlds, weren't becoming monsters. They were showing restraint, showing mercy, proving that strength and civilization could coexist. It was the most terrifying thing other species had ever witnessed. Week 6. The Helios Revelation. Rachel stood in the war room studying reports. Her fleet had achieved in 6 weeks what should have taken years. The Zephyrian military was broken, their war-making capability gone. Only one target remained: Ethos, where Vaxar waited with final remnants, where 14 billion civilians lived, where Rachel would face her ultimate choice: guardian or executioner, mercy or revenge. Dr. Blackwood entered looking older than his 43 years. Grief had carved new lines around his eyes. I need to show you something. He pulled up schematics. Rachel studied them, heart beginning to race despite her control. What am I looking at? Project Helios. Blackwood's voice was quiet. 50 years in development. A weapon that destroys stars, makes them go nova, eliminates entire solar systems. Rachel stared. A space station 30 kilometers long, capable of destabilizing stellar fusion, turning suns into bombs. We built it. We built 7 of them. He displayed their locations, one for each threat vector. They've been dormant 30 years, powered down, hidden in deep space. Ultimate deterrent, the weapon ensuring no one attacks humanity, because the cost would be total extinction. One Helios platform was 3 weeks from Ethos. Why show me this now? Blackwood met her eyes. His were haunted because Athos has 14 billion Zephyrians. And I want you to know that if you choose to end them, I have built the weapon that can do it for Jennifer, for Emma, for all 7 million. Rachel was quiet then. Do you want me to use it, Nathan? I want my sister back. His voice broke. I want Emma back. I want the 7 million back.
Since I can't have that part of me wants to watch Athos burn, wants them to experience the same terror Emma felt. And the other part remembers Jennifer taught empathy, that she believed civilization was measured not by ability to destroy, but by choice not to. He closed his eyes. I don't know which part is right anymore. Rachel put her hand on his shoulder. Neither do I, but I'm going to Athos. I'm bringing Helios, and we'll decide together, guardian or executioner, civilization or chaos. She looked at the schematic one final time.
A weapon representing humanity's capacity for destruction held in check only by choice. Prep Helios for deployment. But Nathan, pray I don't use it. Pray that when the moment comes, I'm strong enough to remember what Emma would have wanted. She didn't finish, didn't need to. If she used Helios, if she destroyed 14 billion lives, humanity would become exactly what the Zephyrians had been. And Rachel didn't know if she had the strength to be better. Week 8, the Siege of Ethos. The Guardian fleet arrived at Ethos. 3,000 ships surrounded the homeworld like a noose. Above them, dark and ominous, the Helios platform emerged from deep space. 14 billion Zephyrians looked up and saw death waiting. Saw their 10,000-year empire reduced to one world. One choice. One last chance. In his throne room, now empty except for Blade of Victory Vaxar, faced the end. 400 ships left, Blade reported. Barely enough to delay them an hour. We cannot win. What are they doing? Waiting. That platform. Our scientists say it's a star killer. Could destroy our sun. End every Zephyrian in existence. Will they? Blade was silent. I don't know. Admiral Kavanaugh has lost so much. Her daughter, her people. She has every reason to end us. But she's also shown mercy at every step, even when we didn't deserve it. So she's weak. No. Blade's colors pulsed with what looked like respect. She's strong, stronger than us. Strong enough to have the power of genocide and choose not to use it. That's not weakness. That's civilization. A communication request arrived. Put her through, Vaxar said wearily. Rachel's face appeared on every screen across Athos. 14 billion beings stopped to watch. Hierarchan Vaxar, people of Athos. Rachel's voice was calm, professional. 8 weeks ago, I watched your ships murder my daughter. Watched them murder 7 million of my people. Watched you laugh. Her expression hardened. I have spent 2 months dismantling your military, destroying your fleets, capturing your installations. I've done it without harming your civilians, without revenge killings, without becoming what you are. She gestured off screen. Helios appeared massive, ominous, deadly. This is Helios, one of 7 weapons humanity built to ensure no one would attack us. It can destroy your star, end your species, kill every Zephyrian in existence. I have the power to do it right now. One command. 14 billion beings held their breath. You murdered my daughter. Rachel's voice finally cracked, just enough to show humanity beneath the uniform. You took the only thing that mattered to me and killed her for entertainment. And I want to press this button. God help me, I want to watch your world burn. She closed her eyes, breathed. When she opened them again, they were clear. But I'm not going to, because Emma wouldn't want me to. Because 7 million people didn't die, so I could become a monster. Because the difference between guardians and executioners isn't capability, it's choice. She leaned forward. You have 24 hours to surrender, unconditionally. Disarm every ship, submit to occupation, face trial for war crimes. If you do, you live. All of you. We'll help rebuild. We'll teach you what civilization means. We'll show you that strength without restraint is tyranny. And if we don't, Vaksara asked, his voice small. Then I make the hardest choice of my life, Rachel said quietly. And we all live with the consequences. You have 24 hours. Choose wisely. Because I'm choosing right now whether to be the person Emma would be proud of or the person her death created. The transmission ended. Vaxar turned to Blade. What do we do? Blade looked at Helios, visible in the sky. At 3,000 human ships. At an empire built through strength without mercy, being judged by a species that had mercy even after every reason not to. We surrender, Blade said. We learn. We become better. Because that human just gave us something we never gave them. What? A choice. The decision. 23 hours later, Vaxar broadcast surrender across all Zephyrian space. Every ship disarmed. Every weapon dismantled. Every soldier stood down. The war was over. Rachel stood on the Retribution's bridge, her hand still on Helios firing control. She'd kept it there for 23 hours, ready, waiting, choosing with every second not to press it. Admiral, Sterling said softly, they've surrendered. You can stand down. Rachel looked at the button, the weapon that could have ended them, the choice she'd made every second for 23 hours. She took her hand away. Power down Helios, return it to deep space, maintain Guardian status, and Captain, make sure every species knows. We built weapons of genocide. We had the power to use them. We chose not to because that's what civilization means. Sterling smiled. Emma would be proud. Rachel felt the crack in her chest, the cold place where Emma lived warm slightly. Just a fraction. I hope so, she said quietly. God, I hope so. The Guardian fleet began occupation, not as conquerors, as guardians, teaching, rebuilding, showing that strength and mercy could coexist, that the scariest predators are the ones who know when not to hunt, that the strongest civilizations are the ones who choose patience over revenge, and that humans, peaceful, patient, prepared humans were the guardians the galaxy needed, even if it hadn't known it yet. The Galactic Council. 2 weeks after surrender, the Galactic Council chambers had stood for 3,000 years, built by 17 species who believed reason could solve any conflict. Curved walls of polished stone, observation galleries where 43 civilizations gathered. Today, those galleries were packed. Admiral Rachel Cavanaugh stood at the central podium, flanked by Sterling and Garrett. She wore her dress uniform, silver eagles, catching light from the dome where artificial stars represented each member species. Earth's star had been dim for 150 years. A minor member, peaceful, non-threatening, easily ignored. That was about to change. The Council recognizes Admiral Rachel Cavanaugh of Earth, the Valorian president announced. Blue-skinned diplomatic, his species had held the presidency for 2 decades. You requested the emergency session to address the recent conflict with the Zephyrian Empire. Conflict. Rachel almost smiled at the sanitization. 7 million murdered became a conflict. Honorable Council, Rachel began, voice carrying easily. 10 weeks ago, the Zephyrian Empire attacked human colony New Haven. 7 million civilians were murdered. The attack was broadcast live as entertainment. They laughed while my daughter died. Uncomfortable murmurs ran through the galleries. We immediately invoked Article 12 of the Galactic Compact, collective defense, mutual aid, the principle that an attack on one species is an attack on all. We asked for your help. She paused, letting silence build. The Council voted against intervention. 37 species voted that the situation required further diplomatic exploration. 5 voted for sanctions. 1 abstained. Admiral Cavanaugh, the Valorian president, interrupted. The Council believed the immediate military response would escalate. Escalate. Rachel's voice cut like a blade. High Archon Vaxar planned to attack Earth next. 18 billion humans. He called it a season finale. Your diplomatic exploration would have ended with my entire species as entertainment. She pulled up holographic displays, footage from New Haven, Rachel had wrestled with showing this, with using her daughter's death as evidence, but the council needed to understand, needed to feel. The footage played, silent, terrible, efficient, Zephyrian ships, energy beams, people vanishing, children screaming. 6 hours compressed into 6 minutes of horror. When it ended, the chamber was silent. That, Rachel said quietly, is what you voted not to stop. The Valorian president's blue skin paled. Representatives looked away, unable to meet her eyes. And so humanity stood alone. Rachel continued. In standing alone, we revealed what we've hidden for 150 years. New displays appeared, Guardian Fleet, Helios platforms, resonance weapons, technology that made advanced species look primitive. For 150 years, you told us strength was barbaric, that military power was unnecessary, that peace required nothing but good intentions and diplomatic dialogue. We smiled, we nodded, we played the role you wanted, we pretended to be weak. Her voice hardened. We weren't weak, we were prepared. Every civilian ship, military vessel in disguise, every colony fortified and armed, every human adult trained soldier. But I built an armada in secret, developed weapons you can't counter, created a military force larger than the next 10 species combined. The chamber erupted. Representatives stood shouting, Admiral, you admit to deceiving the council. I admit to preparing for exactly what happened. Rachel's voice rose above chaos. I admit to understanding that peace without strength is hoping predators stay full. I admit to learning the lesson you haven't, that evil exists and good intentions don't stop it. Prepared violence does. She let that hang. In 60 days, we destroyed the Zephyrian military. Every ship, every station, every weapon. We did it with 0 civilian casualties on their side. We captured the infrastructure instead of destroying it. We provided medical care to prisoners. We followed rules of war even when they showed none to us. Displays shifted, occupied Zephyrian worlds, human soldiers helping rebuild, medical stations treating civilians, prisoners processed according to law, not executed for revenge. And when we had them surrounded, when we had the power to end their entire species with a weapon that could destroy their star, Rachel's voice dropped. We didn't. We offered surrender. We offered mercy. We offered what they never offered us, a choice. She looked around the chamber. We built weapons of genocide and chose not to use them. Can any of you say the same? Absolute silence. Because that's what this is about. Not just war, not just victory, but choice. The choice to be strong enough to destroy and wise enough not to. The choice to be guardians instead of executioners. The choice to prove strength and civilization can coexist. She pulled up the final image. Helios. All 7 platforms visible in deep space. These weapons exist. They will continue to exist. Because the moment we destroyed them, we'd be vulnerable again. The moment we pretended weakness was virtue, we'd invite the next Vaxar. Rachel's voice took on an edge like broken glass. You voted against helping us. Voted to let 7 million humans die while you explored diplomatic options. Voted to prove Article 12 is meaningless when it matters. So humanity withdraws from this council, effective immediately. The chamber exploded. The president hammered for order. Rachel waited patient as wheat until chaos subsided. We don't need your protection, she said into renewed silence. We are the protection. Humanity declares itself an independent protectorate force. Any species attacked by aggressors can request our aid. We'll respond. Not for payment, not for treaties, not for political advantage, just because it's right. You're describing yourselves as Galactic Police, the president asked carefully. No. Guardians. There's a difference. Police enforce laws. Guardians protect those who can't protect themselves. We won't interfere in internal affairs, won't impose human values, won't build an empire. She looked around. But we will defend the innocent. We will stop the kind of evil the Zephyrians represented. We will do it because 7 million humans, including my daughter, taught us that someone has to. That hoping for the best isn't strategy. That being prepared isn't paranoia. That strength with restraint is civilization. And strength without it is tyranny. Rachel pulled out a small object, Emma's photograph, standing in the wheat field smiling. My daughter asked me once why we grow wheat when we could synthesize food. I told her patience. Plant in spring, tend through summer, harvest in fall. What I learned is that the harvest is worth the wait. She held up the photograph. We planted guardian seeds 150 years ago. We tended them in secret. We waited while you told us we were wrong. Today, we harvest a galaxy that knows its strength doesn't mean cruelty. That power doesn't require tyranny. That humans can be trusted with weapons of genocide because we'll choose not to use them. Rachel placed the photograph back over her heart. That's Emma's legacy. That's what 7 million humans died to teach us. And that's what the Guardian fleet will protect. She turned to leave. Admiral Kavanaugh, the president called. What gives you the right to decide this? To appoint yourselves guardians? Rachel stopped, turned. Her eyes could freeze stars. You did. When you voted against Article 12. When you let my daughter die. When you proved that diplomatic dialogue without will to back it up is just words. Someone has to be willing to fight for civilization. You won't. We will. She walked out and didn't look back. Behind her, 43 species processed over what they'd witnessed, some with fear, others with anger, a few with what looked like relief. The galaxy had learned humans were dangerous, but humans were also trustworthy. Would destroy you if you threatened their innocence. Would defend you if you asked. Would show mercy when they had every reason not to. That kind of restraint was more terrifying than any weapon. 10 years later, 2167 dawned at the memorial. The memorial stood on a hill where Colorado Springs used to be. 7 million names carved into black stone that caught morning sun and seemed to glow. Rachel Kavanaugh stood before it, 52 years old, hair more silver than black. Every year on the anniversary, always alone, always at dawn. Her finger traced Emma's name, Emma Sarah Kavanaugh, age 8, beloved daughter. Hey baby girl, Rachel said quietly. 10 years. Thought you'd want to know how things turned out. Wheat fields stretched behind her golden in morning light. The same fields she'd walked with Emma. The same wheat they'd planted together. The cycle continuing. We've responded to 43 conflicts since the war, stopped 3 attempted genocides, mediated 17 border disputes, protected 6 species who couldn't protect themselves, all without conquest, all without demanding payment, just helping, like you would have wanted. She paused watching sunrise. The Zephyrians are different now. Vaxar faced trial, was executed by his own people for war crimes. They have a new government, democratic, peaceful, and they asked to join the Guardian Initiative, asked permission to help protect other species, to prove they've learned. Rachel smiled slightly. I approved it, figured you'd like that. Enemies becoming allies, monsters learning to be better. That's what guardianship means, right? Not just destroying evil, but helping it transform. Footsteps behind her. She didn't turn. She knew those boots. Thought I'd find you here, Garrett said, stopping beside his sister. 48 now, a general, but still differing in ways that mattered. Fleets ready. Another distress call. Species we've never met. Under attack by slavers. 3 weeks away. Rachel looked at Emma's name one more time. Touched the stone. Cold, permanent, carrying weight that would never diminish. What would you do, Em? She whispered. Then, louder to Garrett. Prep the fleet. We'll leave in 2 hours. They walked down the hill together. You ever wonder if we made the right choice? Garrett asked. Not using Helios, showing mercy. Some people still think we should have ended them. Rachel was quiet. Every day, Every time I come here, I wonder if Emma would approve. If 7 million died so I could prove a point. If mercy was weakness disguised. And then I remember Emma asked about wheat, about patience, about understanding. She was 8 years old and already knew growing things is better than destroying them. That tending is better than burning. That harvest is worth the wait. They reached the transport. We harvested something these 10 years got it. Not revenge, not conquest, but respect, trust, the knowledge that humans will help because it's right, not because it benefits us. That's worth more than Ethos's ashes would have been. The retribution, orbital departure. The retribution hung in orbit, surrounded by Guardian fleet. 3,000 ships bearing the insignia. Rachel designed a shield with a wheat stalk, protection and patience, strength and growth. Admiral Sterling, he preferred captain, still waited on the bridge. Admiral on deck. At ease. Rachel moved to her command chair, the same one where she decided not to press the button. Status report. All ships ready for jump. Unknown species designation. Tarlax under attack by Krelian slavers. The Tarlax sent general distress. We're the only ones who responded. Rachel pulled up tactical display. The Tarlax homeworld. Blue and green and vulnerable. Krelian ships in orbit. Raiders. Predators. The kind that thought strength meant taking whatever you wanted. The kind Emma had died fighting. Time until arrival. 3 weeks at maximum speed. Make it 2. I'm tired of arriving too late. Sterling smiled, and Admiral the Zephyrian contingent requested permission to be in the vanguard. Rachel raised an eyebrow. They want front lines. They said they owe humanity a debt, that we showed them what civilization means, that they want to prove they've learned. Rachel thought about enemies becoming allies, about harvest being worth the wait. Approved. Let them prove it. Let the galaxy see transformation is possible. That even species who've done terrible things can become guardians. Fleet preparations began. Rachel sat in her command chair feeling command's weight, heavier now than 10 years ago, because every choice mattered. Every mission carried risk of becoming what she'd fought against. Admiral Sterling said quietly, "Are you okay?" "No," Rachel answered honestly. "I haven't been okay since Emma died. Since I watched 7 million vanish, since I held my finger on that button. I'll never be okay. Then why do this? Why keep going?" Rachel pulled out Emma's photograph, worn from a decade of being carried, faded but still clear, still showing that smile. "Because someone has to. Someone has to be willing to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Someone has to choose mercy when revenge would be easier. Someone has to plant wheat instead of burning fields." She looked at Sterling. "Emma taught me that. 7 million people taught me that. I owe it to them to be the person they died believing I could be. Not perfect, not healed, but better. Always trying to be better." Jump coordinates locked. Fleet was ready. "All ships," Rachel broadcasts. "This is Admiral Kavanaugh. 3 weeks ago, a species we've never met called for help." Called into the void, hoping someone would answer. We're that answer. We're going to show the Tarlax and the Krelians and everyone watching that humanity keeps its promises, that we defend the innocent, that we are guardians not because it's easy, but because it's right. She paused at the benching of Emma, of wheat fields, of patience rewarded. "My daughter taught me civilization is built on small acts repeated over generations. Planting, tending, harvesting. We've been planting guardian seeds for 160 years. Today we harvest again, and every species we protect, every innocent we save, every predator we stop, that's the legacy. That's what makes it worth it." "Fleet," Rachel commanded. "Jump." 3,000 ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a galaxy that had learned to respect the peaceful species hiding wolves. The species that built weapons of genocide and chose not to use them. The species that would come when you called, ask nothing in return, and fight to protect your right to exist. The Guardians. The Krelian Intervention. The Tarlax homeworld burned when Guardian fleet arrived. 50 Krelian ships surrounded the planet, crude weapons designed to break resistance and take survivors as slaves. The Tarlax had no military, no defenses. They were artists, philosophers, musicians. They developed spaceflight through curiosity, not conquest. They'd never imagined evil could arrive from the stars. Now a quarter of their population was dead or captured. Cities burned, museums destroyed, culture erased by species that valued strength over beauty. The Krelians saw the human fleet emerge and laughed. All Krelian vessels. Rachel's voice cut across every frequency. This is Admiral Rachel Kavanaugh of the Human Guardian Fleet. You are attacking a species under our protection. Cease hostilities immediately and release all prisoners. You have 10 minutes to comply. The Krelian commander, a massive creature called Thok the Render, responded with mockery. Humans, soft species playing soldier. Go home. These slaves are ours. You had your warning, Rachel said quietly. Captain Sterling, show them what Guardians look like when you ignore the warning. The battle lasted 7 minutes. Human ships moved with precision born of 160 years of preparation. Resonance weapons disabled Krelian vessels before they could fire. Gravity beams crushed engines without killing crews. The Zephyrian contingent, former enemies now fighting alongside humans, performed flawlessly. When smoke cleared, 43 Krelian ships disabled. 7 destroyed when they refused surrender and turned weapons on civilians. Thok the Render sat in a holding cell on the Retribution massive frame, barely fitting. Rachel stood outside looking at the creature who'd murdered innocents for profit. You can't hold us, Thok growled. Krelian space is vast. We'll come back. You'll stand trial, Rachel interrupted. On Tarlax. In front of the people you tried to enslave. Then you'll spend the rest of your life in a Krelian prison because we're sending you home with a message. What message? That the galaxy has guardians now. That species who can't defend themselves have protectors who can. That strength without restraint is tyranny. And we end tyrants. Thok laughed. You can't police the entire galaxy. No, Rachel agreed. But we can protect those who ask. And we will. Every single time. Until species like yours learn there's always someone bigger, someone stronger, someone willing to fight for what's right. She turned to leave, then paused. My daughter was 8 years old when she was murdered by someone who thought strength meant taking whatever you wanted. She taught me about wheat, about patience, about tending things carefully until harvest. Rachel looked back. You're the weed in that field, Thok. And guardians pull weeds, remember that. The Harvest Ceremony. On Tarlax in the rebuilt capital, the gratitude ceremony filled the central plaza. 50,000 Tarlax civilians gathered to thank the species who'd answered their call. Rachel stood on the platform, uncomfortable with attention. Beside her, a Zephyrian officer, one of Vaxar's former commanders, now serving Guardian Fleet, waited to speak. The Tarlax leader, a being whose name translated to Singer of Dawn, addressed the crowd. 10 days ago, we faced extinction. We are not warriors. We build no weapons. We create beauty, not destruction. The Krelians came to take our people and we had no defense. Singer of Dawn turned to Rachel. Admiral Kavanaugh came with 3,000 ships. She asked nothing in return, demanded no payment, required no treaty. She came because we called for help, because guardianship, she teaches us, is not transaction, it is responsibility. The Tarlax began to sing, a haunting melody in harmonics humans couldn't reproduce, a song of gratitude, of remembrance, of learning that beauty required protection and protection required strength. When they finished, Rachel stepped forward. We didn't come for thanks. We came because it was right, because evil exists and someone has to be willing to stop it. Because my daughter taught me civilization is built on acts of care repeated over generations. She gestured to the Zephyrian officer. This is Commander Blade, formerly of the Zephyrian Empire that attacked humanity 10 years ago. His people murdered 7 million of mine. I had the power to end his entire species. I chose mercy instead, chose to believe monsters could become guardians if given the chance. Blade stepped forward. Crystalline body, pulsing with colors Rachel had learned to read as humility. We were evil, Blade said, telepathic voice reaching every mind. We murdered innocence for entertainment. We believed strength meant taking whatever we wanted. Admiral Kavanaugh taught us differently. Taught us strength means choosing not to take. That civilization means restraint. That guardianship means protecting even those who harmed you. He turned to Rachel. We cannot undo what we did, cannot bring back Emma Kavanaugh or the 7 million. But we can honor their memory by becoming what they died teaching us to be, guardians, protectors, proof that transformation is possible. The Tarlax listened. The galaxy watched via broadcast. Slowly across 43 species, something shifted. Fear of humanity transformed into trust. Respect for their strength included respect for their restraint. Understanding grew that humans would destroy you if you threatened the innocents, but would help if you asked and would give you a chance to become better, even if you didn't deserve it. That was terrifying. That was also hopeful. That was what guardianship meant. Emma's field Rachel returned to Earth 3 weeks later. Guardian fleet remained on patrol, ready to respond. She'd earned a month of leave. Time to remember, time to grieve, time to plant wheat. The farm was maintained by automated systems, but Rachel did the planting herself. On her knees in soil, pressing seeds into earth, covering them gently, watering them with hands that had commanded fleets and held the power of genocide. Garrett found her at sunset uniform, exchanged for simple clothes, dirt under her fingernails. You could hire people to do this, he said, sitting beside her in the furrows. I could, Rachel agreed, planting another seed. But Emma taught me this, taught me some things can't be delegated. That tending matters. That patience produces harvest. Do you still think about it? About pressing the button, about ending the Zephyrians. Every day, Rachel planted another seed. Every single day I wonder if I made the right choice, if mercy was wisdom or weakness, if Emma would be proud or disappointed. And Rachel sat back looking at the field, rows of planted seeds invisible beneath soil, waiting for spring, waiting for sun and rain and time, waiting for harvest that would come if tended properly. And I think this is the answer. We plant, we tend, we protect, we wait for harvest. Some seeds grow into wheat, others into guardians, others into species that learn to be better. The harvest isn't instant, isn't easy, but it's worth it. She stood brushing dirt from her hands. The galaxy is our field now, Garrett. We're the ones who plant guardian seeds, who tend them through seasons, who protect them from weeds and predators. And every species we save, every enemy we transform, every innocent we protect, that's the harvest. That's what makes Emma's death mean something. Garrett stood beside her. It's a big field, a lot of planting. Yes, Rachel smiled for the first time in what felt like years. Good thing humans are patient. Good thing we spent 160 years learning to tend fields without anyone knowing. Good thing we remember what wolves look like so we know which weeds to pull. They walked back toward the house, leaving the planted field behind. In spring, wheat would grow, would reach toward the sun, would be harvested and replanted in the eternal cycle Emma had loved, and across the galaxy, guardian seeds were doing the same, growing slowly, tended carefully, protected by a species that had learned the hardest lesson. That strength without wisdom is tyranny, that power without restraint is evil, that the ability to destroy must be balanced by the choice not to, that guardians aren't born, they're grown, like wheat, with patience and care and willingness to tend through all seasons, no matter how hard the winter. Epilogue, the continuing call. Admiral Kavanaugh to the bridge. Rachel stood in her ready room aboard the Retribution 6 months after Tarlax. Emma's photograph sat on her desk. Beside it, a small vial of wheat seeds from the farm, reminders of what she fought for, what she protected, what she'd become. She entered the bridge. "We've received a distress call," Sterling reported. "New species, never contacted before, under attack by an unknown aggressor. They're asking for help." Rachel looked at the tactical display. Unknown territory, unknown enemies, unknown risks. Another field to tend, another seed to plant, another chance to prove guardianship wasn't about ease but about showing up when called. "How far?" she asked. 4 weeks at maximum speed. Rachel thought of Emma, of 7 million people who taught her this lesson, of wheat growing in fields back home, patient and strong and waiting for harvest. "Plot the course. All ships prepare for jump," and Sterling send a message ahead. "What message, Admiral?" Rachel smiled. The smile of someone who'd learned that the hardest choices were the ones that defined you. That strength meant choosing mercy. That guardianship meant showing up every time no matter what. Tell them help is coming. Tell them humans heard their call. Tell them guardians don't abandon those who need protection. She sat in her command chair, feeling command's weight, feeling Emma's presence in the wheat seeds on her desk, feeling the eyes of 7 million watching, waiting to see if their sacrifice had taught humanity the right lessons. And Sterling tell them one more thing. "Ma'am, tell them we're not bringing war, we're bringing what my daughter taught me, patience, tending, protection, the willingness to plant seeds and wait for harvest, the understanding that civilization is built on small acts of guardianship repeated over generations." The fleet began to move 3,000 ships, carrying the promise that someone would answer when you called. That strength existed to protect, not to conquer. That humans remembered being wolves, which made them better shepherds. "All ships," Rachel broadcast. "Jump." The Guardian fleet vanished into hyperspace, carrying humanity's promise to a galaxy that had learned the most important lesson. The scariest predators are the ones who know when not to hunt. The strongest civilizations are the ones who choose mercy when they have the power to destroy. The best guardians are the ones who remember what monsters look like because they chose not to become monsters themselves. Final reflection. Emma Kavanaugh, age 8, had asked about wheat and patience and whether aliens dreamed. Her mother spent 10 years answering that question with every mission, every choice, every act of guardianship. Aliens dreamed Emma. They dreamed of safety, of protection, of someone strong enough to defend them and wise enough not to abuse that strength. Humanity became that dream. The harvest measured in saved species, transformed enemies, protected innocents, proved the planting was worth it. That patience rewarded those who waited. That civilization meant tending carefully, even when it would be easier to burn the field. The wheat grew, the guardians watched, the galaxy learned, and Emma's legacy lived in every seed planted, every innocent protected, every choice to show mercy when destruction would have been simpler. That was the harvest. That was what made it worth it. That was what guardianship meant. In the fields outside Colorado Springs, wheat swayed in the evening breeze, golden and ready. Rachel would harvest it tomorrow, then plant again for next year's crop. The cycle continuing, just as guardianship would continue, just as humanity would answer the next call and the one after that, and all the calls that would come across centuries of tending the galactic field. Because some things were worth the wait. Some harvests were worth a lifetime of patience. And Emma's lesson that civilization is built one seed at a time, tended through all seasons, protected from wolves. While remembering you were once wolves yourself, that lesson would echo across generations. The Guardian protocol remained active. The wheat grew tall. And Rachel Kavanaugh, who had chosen mercy when she had the power to destroy, who had become a guardian, instead of an executioner who had planted seeds instead of burning fields. She stood in her daughter's field and knew that the harvest had been worth every moment of waiting.